All right, how's it going out there? I'm Mike Brightman with Brightman Designs, and we offer design, drafting, visualization, and workflow training services. Basically, everything that we do revolves around SketchUp Pro, layout, our Condoc tools, and Lumion. And so today what we're doing is a live webinar for Lumion 8.3 and LiveSync. So let me get this screen up here. So at Lumion.com, you can get your hands on the latest version of 8.3 with this LiveSync. And so basically the layout of these webinar events is I'm going to do a presentation and then definitely stick around and ask questions on the chat panel. So if you are asking questions, please head over to our brightmandesigns.com site, and below that embed you can type in your questions on the chat panel, and that's the one that I'm going to be looking at. So be sure to stick around and ask some questions after that. So well, LiveSync, what that is basically a connection, a live connection between SketchUp, your modeling program, and Lumion, your rendering program. So as you're building your SketchUp model and making these decisions, you're going to be able to see it now in Lumion in this rendered real-world context. So a much more polished view of your designs as you're going along and iterating. So this makes for much more productive internal design reviews. You know, you can set it up to be realistic and see all those shadows and reflections and everything happening. Or it could be that you're doing a client presentation and you want to kind of soften it up and use one of those watercolor effects. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to walk through not only installing the plugin, which is really easy in SketchUp, but then how to kind of get the screen set up for getting the most out of it. And then I'm going to offer up a few tips and tricks on how to best leverage LiveSync for Lumion. So SketchUp LiveSync for Lumion. So let's get going. First things first, let's hop over into SketchUp, and we're going to need to install this LiveSync extension. So if I go to Window, Extension Warehouse, I can then type into the search here. I'll type in Lumion and hit enter. And then we're going to go in here and you can see Lumion LiveSync for SketchUp. I'll click there and I'll click on install. All right, so what that's going to do is it downloads this. We're going to agree, say yes, downloads that plugin. It's successfully installed, and say okay, and we are good to go. So let's see, I don't have that toolbar up right now, but for any of these toolbars in SketchUp, I can right click and we should be able to go to our Lumion LiveSync. So if I right click on any toolbar in SketchUp, I can bring up all of my toolbars and choose that Lumion LiveSync. All right, so there it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this Milwaukee Street renovation. This is a project I've been working on for the past year. It's a renovation here in Denver, and it's kind of a good example of like how you can use this LiveSync technology to see your model and your design in the real world and make those design decisions. So I'm going to go to File and open that SketchUp model. And let's see, to get our screen set up the way we want it, you know, let's just take a look here. So this is our SketchUp design. You can see it's all set up using our Condoc standards. So we create our construction documents out of here. And then we are also creating all of our Lumion visualization. So it's kind of a cool multi-level design that kind of marches up as it goes down that main axis up to this rooftop patio. And then we also have this accessory dwelling unit in the back as well. All right, so let's get set up now in Lumion. So we'll hop over into Lumion, and I'm going to open up our template. You know, you could start with a plain scene, or any one of these scenes can be worked back to any of the others. Really, it's just they're set up with like some mountains and some water and different grass types. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our template. So I'll go to our Brightman Designs Resources, and under our templates folder, I have this LS8, and I'll open that. And then usually, whenever I open something, I'm gonna go ahead and save that as, and put it on my desktop temp. That way I'm not overwriting my template. And we'll call this 3655. All right. So if I go to my build mode, I think we're about ready, but see, here's something that's going on. Because we're doing a webinar, I only have one screen to share with you. So I'm gonna have to split my screen. But keep in mind that for you, you might be in a client presentation and have your laptop set up, and it would be very easy to have your laptop screen showing your SketchUp model, and then on the big screen, you would put up your Lumion window, and then you're gonna sync those views. Same thing with if you have multiple monitors, you might have one screen showing SketchUp, another screen showing Lumion. So for what we're doing here today though, I'm gonna need to kind of split these screens. So to do that, I'm gonna drag my Lumion window to the right, let go, and then split it with my SketchUp window. Then in SketchUp, my default tray has this auto hide, so I can turn that on. And so I've got my Lumion LiveSync set up, and I've got my Lumion window. So one thing about our template too is that we do include all these different layers. So we have like buildings and site and entourage. So that's why I like to use that. All right, so let's hit play. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna bundle up that SketchUp model and all the materials, and it's gonna dump it into Lumion at 0, 0, 0, right at that origin base point. Now, while that's thinking, let me just say this. Lumion is really, it's an awesome rendering program. I mean, it's really changed the way that we work. It's so fast, so easy. We got tons of tutorials to learn how to do this and do it well. So be sure to like the YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Check us out at brightmandesigns.com and sign up for our newsletter. That way you're always in touch and you always know, when we're doing these events and when we release our latest tips and tricks. So that's my plug while we're live syncing here. It takes just a moment to bundle this thing up and it's gonna drop in there. So I'll pause for a moment. Okay, there it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do though in Lumion is back up here, and I like to move my model. So I'm just going to position this LiveSync model. I'm going to move it to 0, 5, 0. You don't have to do that, but I like to have my models lifted up above the ground plane so that my ground plane in SketchUp doesn't conflict with the ground plane in Lumion. So I choose 0, 5, 0. Sometimes you got to go higher for hilly sites, but this one works at 0, 5, 0. All right, so right away I can click on Start Camera Synchronization. When I click that button, check that out. Now my SketchUp model is following right along with in Lumion. So I can kind of look around and get a much more polished view of my SketchUp model. All right, but we're gonna go a little bit further than that. So we want our model to not just be this default import. We wanna get the material set up. And check this out. If I go into Lumion and take a look at my glass here. So look at that, it's already set up because I used a SketchUp glass. And so now it recognizes that and it's already set up a glass material in Lumion. So then I would just go around here and I would texture this model exactly the same way. Turn on my grass like that, and you go around and you add all of your textures. Now, I will say this, I do have a material set already set up for this model. So if I click on this glass and go to this, this menu dialog and go to Material Set, Load. I'm gonna load that material set, and I have that in my projects under 3655, and this is in our demo. So here's our material set. Now, let me explain what a material set is. So basically when I add materials in SketchUp, I'm adding the brick and the siding and the grass. Well then it comes into Lumion and then I have to kind of path those materials. I have to say, the grass is Lumion grass, the glass is Lumion glass. Well, once I do that one time, I can save all those. So a material set is a great way to kind of distribute work amongst a team. That way one person can be texturing and they can get all the texture set up and then save that material set and then say, hey, in the main model, load that material set, we're good to go. Another way you can really gain efficiency using material sets is, if you have standard materials that you use every single time, like I'm always using asphalt and concrete and glass and grass and water, get all those set up so that you don't have to do that every time. Even those like, first 10 materials that you use all the time, just load those up. So those are two ways you can use material sets to really gain some efficiency. So I'll choose open, and we'll say okay, and we're good to go. So now at least we have some good materials all lined up, and I'm going to save those materials. You got to click on that checkbox there, and we're good to go there. So now what we want to do is kind of orbit around, and if we're going to be designing in the context of the real world here, we want to add some trees. All right, so then I would go in Lumion, I go to my objects, and on place mode, I would click on the nature collection and then check it out. If you're not familiar with Lumion, there's several thousand landscape objects. I mean, objects in general, a ton of those objects are landscape objects. And so as I go through here, we have a lot of different selections. I can even type in like oak into the filter, and let's choose one that's not too big, and then I'll just click to place those. And so, those are all pre-animated, they're blowing in the breeze, ready to be rendered. All right, so this way, you don't have to have those 2D cutout trees in SketchUp. Now we can look at our design with these nice Lumion trees. But I want to give you another tip, and this is the merge models function. So I've already set up all of these objects in Lumion, and so I created an extra file where I can merge all of these objects in here. Now, another way to distribute work amongst a team is to have one person import this model and start adding all the plants and trees, and then delete that model import and save it as a file called like 3655 objects. Well, then you're going to merge those with the main model. So that way one person can be texturing, one person can be adding objects, and maybe the other person is setting up the views and adding effects. So it's easy to distribute that work amongst a team. So let me show you how that one works. I'll go to Files and click on Load Scene, and then I'll click on Merge Scene. And we're going to bring in our objects here from that 3655 folder, choose Open, and then we're going to remove those models, and it looks good. So we'll say OK. Cool. All right, so now we've got all of our trees and objects placed, and let's just kind of orbit around in SketchUp and take a look. So you can imagine, if I was had a presentation going on, it's kind of a nice view. So a little bit more polished than SketchUp. Okay, but now in Lumion 8, so this was new when Lumion 8 came out, are styles. And so a function that, or a feature that I didn't use a ton was build with effects, which is really helpful for texturing, because then you can see how your textures are going to behave with all of your effects. But build with effects is also really nice for what we're doing here with LiveSync. So let's do that. Let's hop into our photo mode, and I'm going to click on a custom style. These are brand new in Lumion 8, and let's just choose a realistic style. I'll click there, and let's see, I'll click build with effects. Now, when I orbit around, kind of zoom in, we can kind of see a better view of this project. But let me go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to set my focal length, because the focal lengths are a little bit different between the two programs. So I'm going to choose, let's back this up and say like 25, and then go to build with effects. So that's a little bit better. So sometimes that focal length kind of needs to be adjusted. All right, so I can kind of look around here. And I think we're in good shape there. So let's, at this point, let's look at, on the front of the building, let's talk about how we can like make some real-time design decisions in SketchUp while we're looking at this LiveSync view in Lumion. So now I can go over here and I can say like, all right, well maybe I want like, let's try and extend this roof. So I'll just go in here and use my push-pull tool. I'll pull it out by like 3 feet, like that. And you can see that that LiveSync happens. And then see how it's going straight out? I don't know that I really like that. So I'm gonna move this straight up on the blue axis and then match it, use my inferences over here so it's constrained on that line intersect plane. And so now, that looks good. So those changes are happening in real time. So let's check out another design decision here. So like maybe if I go in here and I'm gonna scale this window. This is actually a dynamic component. So as I scale this window down, let's say 0.5, and I hit enter, see, it distorted and then it rebuilt itself. And you can see how that's showing up in Lumion as well. So it is just this kind of very real-time view of your SketchUp model as you're designing. So 0.5, maybe make a copy like that. All right, looks good. Cool. So that's making a few design changes there. One other point that I think I would want to make is, we're talking about making these real-time design decisions, but what about for these client presentations? So another style that came out really nice in Lumion 8 is the watercolor effect. So let me go back here and I'll say, okay, click on my change style here, and then let's go to watercolor, just like that, and then click on build with effects. All right, so now as I orbit around, you can see we've got all of these effects going on, just a softer way to show your SketchUp model. And again, imagine a client presentation where where I'm showing SketchUp models on my screen, but this is on the big screen. So kind of a nice way to soften up a computer model, or maybe even a design that isn't quite complete. This kind of makes it, fills in the blanks, but looks good on this one too when it's complete. So that is LiveSync for Lumion 8.3. One of our quicker demos that we've done, but so I think you'll see though that really LiveSync is going to help you to really understand your design and the effects of light on your design and reflections and all those things that you can really study in Lumion. You can now do that in real time without having to reload and reload. So definitely check out Lumion.com. That's where you can download or purchase Lumion. Look for your Getting Started with Lumion email, and that's where you can download 8.3. So 8.3 is a free upgrade for all existing Lumion 8 licenses. And then that plugin, it's on the extension warehouse, totally free, and get to syncing. So again, my name's Mike Brightman, company's Brightman Designs, and we do offer design, drafting, visualization, and workflow training services. And check us out at brightmandesigns.com and sign up for those newsletters, and we'll always be in touch. And appreciate you watching today. And at this point, I'm going to hop over to the chat panel on our Brightman Designs events page. And anyway, so thanks for watching. If you're signing off, we'll catch you in the next one. But if you stick around, I'm going to answer some questions. So let's check it out.